If you want to learn the basics of 3D design in AutoCAD 2025, you've come to the right place. Let's get started. So today we're going to go over the basics of 3D design in AutoCAD. This is a basic tutorial that I'm going to try and get as much information into 10 to 15 minutes as possible. And we're going to start by saying that I'm using AutoCAD 2025. If you're using a previous version, then this tutorial is applicable to you and it will be available to you and you should be able to use it. So the first thing I want you guys to do is I want you to get into a empty drawing, and I'm going to show you how to activate 3D tools in AutoCAD if you don't have it activated already. So the first thing you guys are going to want to do is come up here with your cursor and right click on this black bar up here. Once you right click on that, you're going to get this drop down menu show up. When you're in the drop down menu, you're going to see there's show panels, show tabs. We want to go to show tabs, and you want to come here and you can see all the tabs that you can then add to the quick bar. You're going to want to click 3D tools. I already have a check mark beside it because I already have it active on my bar. If you don't already, click this and make sure it's active on your bar. Once that's done, we're going to come up here, click on 3D tools, and we're going to have a variety of tools that we can use to start learning how to do AutoCAD 3D design. Once that is done, we need to learn how can we actually make it so we can draw in 3D. So what you're going to notice here is on the top right hand corner of your screen, you're going to have this little box here. So what this box does is it allows you to adjust the orientation of your screen so you can draw in 3D. Now this isn't just for 3D. As you can see, if you're using 2D, you can rotate, and this can be used for two-dimensional drawing as well, but it's most likely and most used in 3D spaces. Because if I come here and I click the bottom left hand corner of the box, you're going to see that the box then rotates and I can click on other parts of the box to go and change my view. But right now I'm in the 3D view. When I'm in the 3D view, I can then start drawing. Now I can rotate around. I can click the right hand corner, I can click the right hand corner to that corner, and I can just keep going around and I can change my orientation based on what I'm doing. So you're never stuck in one dimension. Once you know how that works, the next thing we can do is we can start learning how to actually use solids in 3D AutoCAD. So what you're going to notice up here is you're going to have your tool section. You're going to see that there is box, and then within box there is a few other choices like cylinder, cone, sphere, pyramid, wedge, torus, polysolid. In this example, we're just going to use a box because I'm trying to make this as quick as possible. So I just want you guys to click box, and then once we have box selected, we should be able to draw a box on our screen. So just select a corner, and then this works just like the regular rectangle command in two-dimensional AutoCAD. So just go here, create it, and then just pull it up to where you need it to be. You can also go in the negative direction. If you come up here, and let's just make it 0.5. For those who don't know, I am using the metric system in this tutorial. If you don't know how to switch between metric and imperial, then you can go and check out this tutorial right here in the top right hand corner. That'll teach you everything you need to know about 2D AutoCAD. So once we're done here, the next thing we can do is we can learn about the extrude command. So extruding is something you use when you draw a 2D object on AutoCAD. So if I draw a rectangle and I use extrude, all extruding does is it turns your 2D object into a 3D object, but we don't really need to get into that. One of the most important things you really need to learn is meshes. So meshes are something that give you more control over a 3D object, and we're going to show you how to do that in a minute. But the first thing I need to show you is how are we going to make our 3D object look better? Because right now it's just a wireframe, it has no substance to it, and it looks pretty bad. So what you can do here is if you come up here in the top left hand corner, you're going to see there's a southwest isometric. So as I said with the cube here, you can actually, instead of just clicking on the cube and going around and messing with it, you can actually come here and select which isometric view you want it. So we're just going to stick with southwest isometric. But you can also come here and you'll see 2D wireframe, and you're going to see there's a variety of wireframes and different types of ways we can make our object look. So if I click conceptual, then it should change it to a solid object. So the next thing we're going to talk about is meshes. So what we can do with our box that we made is we can convert it into a mesh. So if we come up here and press the plus command, we click this, we can then click on our object, press enter, and you're going to get this box show up. Don't worry about this. It'll ask you what you want to do. You can filter non-mesh objects from the selection set, or you can convert non-mesh objects to mesh objects before they add the smoothness. So I recommend for this tutorial, we're just going to click the bottom one here, and you're going to see the difference between a 3D object and a 3D mesh. So if we come here to 2D wireframe and change it back to conceptual, you're going to notice that there is more squares. It's segregated more. This is actually easier to see in 2D wireframe, but you're going to see that there's different sections of this. It's not a square anymore, but the square we made. You're going to see that with these, you can then adjust these individually instead of adjusting the entire object. Because if we just had a box, we could only change the length, width, and height. In this, I can extrude one little square that's in here, so I could extrude the middle part instead of extruding the entire thing. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, but first we're going to go over here and we're going to create meshes without converting meshes. So what you do is you come here to modeling, and you're going to see there's a variety of meshes you can already make. So we're just going to make a mesh box. So you take this, you draw it, and you can see that it looks similar to what we had before. Come up here, we're going to make it 0.5 in height, and you're going to see that this mesh is more of a square than the one that we previously had, because this one we converted using a different tool. But over here you're going to see that we have a variety of different mesh sections in this than we did do it in the previous one. And what this does is, as I explained before, it allows you to pull things out and do things with that. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. So one of the most important things you need to know when you're extruding the little squares and rectangles that we've been looking at on our screen right now is extruding a face. So if you come here and click extrude face, then you will be able to select one of these little faces that you see, and you'll be able to extrude it. So once you select the ones you want to extrude, press enter and it'll let you pull them out. So we'll just pull it out, and you can use it like any other AutoCAD. You just type in what you need to put. So we'll just do one, and I can do this for any surface that I have here. So I'm just going to do this for a few of them, just to show you how it works a little bit. So if I come here, I can do the top left-hand corner as well. I can pull it up by 0.5, and I pulled that one out down here on the bottom as well. And if I come here and I switch from 2D wireframe to a conceptual view, then you're going to see that I have it extruded. One thing you can do is you're going to say, well, okay, well, if I have these meshes, then can't I make it so it's more detailed? The answer to that question is yes, and we're going to get into that in a moment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to merge the faces on our mesh. So if you come up here and go to mesh and you click merge face, you can then select the different faces. As we saw before, the faces are what you are extruding out of your object. Once you have selected the ones you want to merge together, you can press enter and it will become one face. And when you then go and you extrude this, if you come down here and click extrude face, it is now one face. You click that face, press enter, and you'll be able to push it up, down, wherever you need it. I'm going to do 0.5 again. And then if I go here and I switch to a conceptual frame, you're going to notice that I then extruded that entire section that I merged together instead of just the one square as you see in the bottom left-hand corner. There's another thing that we need to go over, and that will be how we can smooth this out. So we'll do that in a minute. So what you're going to see here is we have our mesh, and in this mesh we can define the smoothness more, or we can shrink it as well. So if you come up here, you're going to see there is smooth more. So it'll increase the smoothness of the mesh, so that makes it so it's not as blocky, and it's easier to manipulate what the mesh is. You're also going to notice there's a decrease or smooth less button. So what this does is it decreases the amount of smoothness on an object and makes it more blocky, like we have right here. So if we click on our object and we go and we click smooth and we get off that, you can see that it's smoothed out our object. And you're also going to notice that when I go and I try to extrude a face or merge a face, you're going to see I have new faces on my object. So this is very important and very helpful for if you're trying to make really detailed objects in AutoCAD. You can smooth it to where you need it, and then you can use that model to create the object you need to create. We can also make it less smooth. So if I go here, I select my mesh, I press enter, it just popped right back to the way it was. I don't know if I could go even more than this, but the smoothness level of this object is already as small as it can go. But you can see if I keep clicking this, it's going to get smoother and smoother and smoother and smoother. And I'm at the smoothest phase that we can get to now. And you can see that this object is incredibly smooth, and this is what our square has turned into. So if I come here and I go to extrude face, you're going to see I have my faces, and then I can pull it out, and you're going to see how smooth it actually is. And you can see that AutoCAD does a really good job of showing you how this works, how this looks, and it's just a really useful tool when you're trying to create smoother objects. Again, you can also get rid of, you can decrease the smoothness and increase it however you wish. It's just really nice to use. It's not as good as some other programs, but it still works really well. So with that said, this was the conclusion of our program. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you learned a little bit about AutoCAD 3D. We are going to put out another video, part 2 for this because we're running out of time, and we're going to detail some of the other commands up here. If you're interested in that, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and we're going to get that out to you probably in the next week. Thank you for tuning in. We're looking forward to seeing you in the next video, and thank you for all your support. If you're new to AutoCAD, just remember that we do have free courses on AutoCAD. We have a free one that we're giving out. It's down in the description down below. And we also have a webinar coming up in June. We're really excited for that. If you're interested in becoming an AutoCAD certified user, this is more so for people who've never used the program. And just so you know, when you do our program, and let's say you do decide to join our program for the webinar, and you're using AutoCAD, it will count towards your 150 hours to reaching that threshold. So until next time, thank you. We'll see you in the next video.